Hey guys, welcome back to Underreported Stories. Joining me today is Carl Higbie. He is a former Navy SEAL, a Newsmax anchor, and the perfect person to talk to about what's happening in the Russia and Ukraine negotiations. So, Carl, I want to start by setting the stage for everyone. Last week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, they met in Saudi Arabia with top Russian diplomats to hash out an end to this war. Ukraine was not invited to these negotiations, and this has resulted in European leaders throwing what I've been calling a bitch fit by putting together this summit to discuss potentially putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. The UK's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, basically suggested that he is going to escalate the war tensions because the US wants to end the war. Mind you guys, Ukraine has been engaged in peace talks for years. We know exactly what they want. On February 12th, Zelensky met with our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. We are not leaving them behind, but Carl, the left and most of Europe are freaking out about Trump engaging directly with Putin to broker this peace deal. Given your military background, are the risks of engaging with Putin as dramatic and bad as the media are making them out to be?
Well, no, you have to talk to the sides. You can't have a negotiation. You can't have an agreement. I mean, like, this is like 101. Like, if there's a bully and you want to stop him, someone has to talk to that bully. And for 4 years, Biden just basically refused to talk to the guy. And now we're sitting here facing what we have now. The other thing, too, is like, this is my thing with the Ukraine stuff. It's like they don't know where most of the money went that we gave them. So stop the money. Okay. Oh, we stopped the money. All of a sudden now Zelensky is like trying to play tough guy and Europe is too. It's like, first off, UK, you're not going to send troops to the border. They're just not. They can say they are, but they're not going to do that. We're definitely not going to do it. And there's just no appetite for it. But also Europe, like you didn't pay enough for a seat at the table. So let the big boys talk. And when we're ready, we'll bring you in if we feel so necessary. But like Trump wants to get a feel from Putin, like, hey, dude, what's your end result here? Like, nobody's actually asked Putin, like, hey, what are you aiming for? Like, what do you want? And look, do I think Putin's a great guy? No. But you know what? Neither is Zelensky. So, you
I
know,
know, but when you say that, it's like the left starts to have a conniption. They start to freak out as if that's crazy. But what's crazy to me is the definition of insanity, right? Engaging in the definition of insanity over and over again. Biden wasn't able to broker a deal, and the left and European allies have basically said, well, why aren't you doing what Joe Biden is doing? Because it was not working. That's why. And usually when you do something and it fails, you don't do it again.
Chrissy, the whole thing of Ukraine, like we're going on like 3 years of this crap right now. The whole thing with Ukraine was that, hey, we need to protect democracy. Okay, cool. Well, why do you hate Putin? Well, he holds fraudulent elections. He throws his political opponents in jail. He takes money for himself that's intended for the state. Like, okay, so who's Zelensky? Oh, Zelensky canceled, like literally closed down churches, canceled elections. He's in year 6 of a 5-year term right now and is refusing to hold an election. And the one poll that he's citing at 57% approval rating was paid for in part by our dollars at USAID. He also jails his political opponents. Okay, so we're not clearly not fighting for democracy over there. We're just funneling money into God knows what.
Yeah. And I think what irks me and what I want you to put your Newsmax host hat on for this is what is the media doing in pushing this? Because when you try to have a discussion like we're having right now, which is very nuanced, we're not saying, let's be pro Putin. We're saying, hey,
Oh,
both sides are not great. We should probably do what's in America's best interest. It's almost like the media starts to revert back to 2016 and 2017, and they're pushing this basically a version of Russia collusion 2.0 hoax. Why do you think the media is so obsessed with this narrative? Because it's 2016 and now it's now. Why are they so obsessed with putting Putin and Trump in the same phrase all the time?
well, two things. One, they can't admit that they were wrong about it, and two, they this is the bulk of media right now. They get hooked onto something. They will never admit they're wrong, and that's the downfall. That's why our media has a lower approval rating than Congress, which is 18%. The the bigger problem with all this stuff is like nobody's presented a good case why we should be pro Ukraine. All right. Nobody's pro Russia. Okay. Russia and the Cold War, like that animosity is still there amongst America. Okay. But JD Vance said it best. He said, if, everybody's blaming Russia for intervening in free and fair elections and democracy and all that stuff. It's like, so if a few $100,000 of Facebook ads can destabilize your democracy, it wasn't that strong to begin with. And like that was the greatest line I've ever heard out of JD Vance because it was so perfectly put in the face of a bunch of people who like look, Putin probably wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union, all right? He doesn't really care if he kills a million people doing it, which he literally has done. But you still have to talk to him to fix this. And the left has nothing else. Also, keep in mind, Zelensky is part of the reason Donald Trump got impeached the first time because Zelensky could have come out and said, hey, there was no quid pro quo, but he didn't do that. And that's why Trump is like, I'm getting this thing buttoned up now. And I don't really care if he's at the table or not.
Oh, it's very true. The negotiations, though, are still ongoing. We had White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying that she thinks that we're going to get that done this week. Let me play this clip real quick.
I don't have anything to detail or to read out right now. The president and his team are very much focused on continuing negotiations with both sides of this war to end the conflict, and the president is very confident we can get it done this week.
What do you think of that timeline? Do you think that's realistic at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, things move at breakneck speed in this White House, and what usually takes, I mean, the way I equate this is like I don't know if you've ever been through a lawsuit, but like lawyers talk to lawyers and they go back and forth and they talk and it is as soon as the two parties actually get in the same room, you generally work things out pretty quickly. And this is the problem. Trump is like cutting out the middleman on all these things. Trump's like, hey, there's all these people, these experts, and all this other that don't have no idea what they're doing. They don't have any authority to make these decisions, but they're doing it anyway. I'm removing all those people, and this is what we're doing. I want 50% of your mineral rights. I want this. I'm cutting off your money. The fastest way to get these people to talk is to cut off their money. And I think that's going to be the most effective thing. Be like, okay, you're not going to do it my way? Fine. You can hate us for free.
If you've ever wondered how content creators are able to record high-quality video without the tech meltdowns, trust me, it's not Zoom. If you are serious about recording podcasts, conducting interviews, or creating awesome content, then you need the platform that I use, which is Riverside. The interview you're watching right now, we use Riverside to record it. It is the easiest way to record studio-quality audio and video without worrying about crappy Wi-Fi ruining your show. If you want to take your podcast to the next level, please use the unique link in my description to get your show running smoothly today. Yeah, you know what? You really hit on the specific word, though, that has been triggering, I sound like a leftist, but triggering me in this whole conversation is experts. So I have this running theory that the general population, more on the left than on the right, but really on both sides, we have so consistently been told that we need to have a master's degree in global affairs to even be allowed to comment on global issues. Therefore, the media then starts to play a really outsized role in the way that people shape their opinions about this conflict because they look to the so-called experts. But the so-called experts have done nothing in this negotiation process. So when it comes to striking a deal, what does public perception even have to do with this anymore? Because it's just the experts telling people how to think. We don't critically think about this anymore.
Right. And if you criticize the experts, they have the same people that support those experts, and which is like a big incestuous pool of recycling where experts go on networks and talk about other experts and they boost themselves up. Like you said, look, I dropped out of college and joined the military in 9/11. I have a greater understanding of foreign policy. I've been to 65 plus countries than anybody who has a master's degree in underwater basket weaving and foreign policy. I am so sick and tired of listening to these people. Like, look, until you've had a bullet whiz past your head at 3,000 feet per second, don't lecture me on foreign policy. I was the guy that went and forced it when everything else and all your stupid negotiation with your experts failed. So, like, I know where these things are going. And the problem is you have somebody who doesn't care about the fact that people are living and dying. He doesn't, like Putin and Zelensky. Neither of them care. Otherwise, they would have come to the table. Zelensky wouldn't even talk to Putin about this stuff. This is the problem. Experts don't know what experts walk around telling each other that they all know what they talk about or know what they're talking about, but they don't actually know because they've never actually done it.
Right. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine, like, literally the idea of shooting a gun in my backyard scares me. I can imagine if all of that was flying at me. So thank you. Thank you so very much for your service. One of the other things, one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about was kind of the idea of NATO and all of this, because domestically, a lot of people on the right and the left are criticizing Trump's kind of attack on NATO and simultaneously Trump's attack on Zelensky by calling him a dictator. Now, like you mentioned, if any other Western country didn't hold an election, no one would have a problem crying dictatorship. Why do you think NATO is so reticent to let Ukraine in, but then so quick to kind of uphold Zelensky's delusions about his status and Ukraine's status in this war?
So NATO is one of these things that there is a status quo and there's a believed set of rules that people apply to. There's no reason for those rules, and those rules don't apply to anybody but themselves. It's the same thing with rules of engagement. NATO believes that they have some, moral high ground to declare things certain ways, and because they declare it, it is. And it's just like the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. We rolled out of Iraq under Obama and claimed victory, but no, we didn't, because ISIS popped up. It turns out in war, the enemy gets a say. So that all these NATO countries, all these UN countries, all these people, it's like WHO, they all have like this. This is the way it is because we said so. And it's like, it's not. Like, you can't tell me that the virus wasn't from China. It was. You can't tell me that we won in Iraq because we didn't. You can't tell me we won in Afghanistan because we didn't. And people were clinging to wheel wells on cargo jets on the way out of there. And then we lost a bunch of Marines on the same day. The fundamental problem with these people is they live in this bubble, this incestuous ecosystem of white papers and ideologues that don't do anything. And when I sit here and I listen to these people saying, oh, well, they're going to join NATO. They're not going to join NATO, because if they do, they're going to create a bigger problem. And it's like Putin doesn't care. So these people have absolutely no understanding. You can write all the white papers you want, hold all the forums and international get-togethers on your private jets. You're never going to solve the problem unless you talk to the person that is actually on the other end of the conflict.
Yes, you're so right. Last question for you, Carl. So Zelensky said yesterday, February 23rd, that, quote, if peace for Ukraine requires him to step down, he will do it. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, he got his yacht already. He got his houses and whatever. Dude, Zelensky made a ton of money off it. His net worth is through the roof, okay? That's, like, not disputable. This guy was a subpar comedic actor before all this stuff, and by the end of this war, America is funding his public pension systems, and they can't account for 60% of the money that went over there. Where is that? Gee, you know what? This guy has had his way. I think he's happy to step out of the spotlight because now he sees he's losing world support with Donald Trump at the head of that. And he's like, yeah, I'll get out. I mean, I'll have a great life after this.
Interesting. I am in such the opposite camp. I think that there's no way he likes attention way too much. He's not going to step down. He gives me Mitch McConnell energy. I don't know how to describe it.
Mitch McConnell doesn't have any energy.
Vibes, then,
Yeah,
as the
vibes.
kids would say.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carl. We're going to be keeping an eye on this story for you guys the rest of the week, especially given this idea that we might be able to come to negotiations by the end of the week. But where can people find you? Where can people watch you on Newsmax, Carl?
5 p.m. Newsmax.
Of course. And sometimes I'm on there. So
You
hopefully
are.
you can see the two of us duke it out online. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you here next time. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment about how beautiful, intelligent, and funny I am. And if you want more content, click right over here for more videos and clips of my show. I'll see you back here next time. Bye!